Maybe it's better for me to die than to live like this. Those were the painful and honest words spoken by Charity Pierce, a woman who became known around the world because of her difficult and heart-wrenching story on the show, My 600 lb Life. At the start of her documented struggle, she weighed almost 778 pounds. And every time she looked in the mirror, what she saw was no longer herself, but a monster, according to her. Charity also shared, "I had to have the bathroom placed right next to my bed. The toilet couldn't support my weight. I also couldn't sit in the bathtub, so I just had sponge baths every day." Because of the seriousness of her condition, doctors immediately recommended that she be treated by a well-known bariatric surgeon, Dr. Now Zaradan. According to Dr. Now, Charity's life is really in danger. Her condition is severe, and she needs urgent help. In this video, we will look back at the challenges and triumphs of Charity Pierce, from her darkest beginnings to her recovery, a story of a body that became an obstacle, and the courage to face an almost impossible battle. Every day, Charity feels like she has an enemy as her companion, her own body. Every move, every action, it's as if she has to push against a wall just to move forward. The simple things for most people, for her, feel like a whole mission. And through all of this, she can't move without help. She needs to lean on her child, Charlie, and her partner, Tony, for almost every daily task. Even the simple act of getting out of bed requires them to lift and support her together. Sitting on the sofa, going to the bathroom, all of those things need to be planned and done with support. But one of the things she feels she lost the most is the ability to cook. Cooking used to make her happy. But now that she can't stand for long, she had to let Charlie and Tony take over the cooking. Because of this, they eat nothing but fast food and ready-to-eat meals every day. This only makes her condition worse. Even if she wants to eat healthier food, she can't do anything but wait and hope. Even just leaving the house is a huge challenge. She can't easily get into a vehicle. She always feels uneasy in public due to people's stares and whispers. It reached a point where even a simple walk in the mall with Charlie was filled with anxiety, fear, and the feeling that everyone who saw her would judge her. And if there's a medical checkup, sometimes they even have to call an ambulance just to bring her safely. But through all of this, Charity's son Charlie remained strong by her side. He became her caregiver, companion, and emotional support. He tirelessly and wholeheartedly helped her, from dressing, bathing, to daily routines. Because of Charlie, Charity never lost hope. Tony was also there, continuously being part of the struggle, giving love and support. Even with someone by her side daily, things remained difficult. One of the heaviest emotional burdens for Charity was the difficulty of finding clothes that fit her. No ordinary clothes would fit her size anymore. So most of the time, she just wore oversized t-shirts and underwear, clothes that almost disappeared between the folds of her skin. And every time she looked in the mirror, she was reminded of the size of her body and the feeling of being different. Even so, she didn't just give up easily. Every day, Charity got up with a strong resolve. She wouldn't let herself be defeated. And with the help of Charlie and Tony, she drew strength from love. For her, the body is not a hindrance to maintaining dignity, love, and conviction, but the threat is always there. Obesity is not just about appearance. It is a serious medical condition that comes with risks. It impacts physical, emotional, and mental health. And Charity's story is a reminder of how heavy the struggles are for people with this condition, and how crucial support, understanding, and knowledge are. But what exactly is obesity? And why is it one of the most dangerous conditions for human health? For us to understand it better, we need to break it down. In medicine, obesity is usually measured using body mass index or body mass index. It's a simple formula calculated using a person's height and weight to determine how much fat they have. The body mass index or body mass index is often used as the basis to determine if a person is underweight, normal, overweight, or obese. It's a simple measurement that helps to understand the effect of weight on health. In Charity's case, her weight, which reached 178 pounds, clearly falls into the obese category. And this puts her at great risk. When the body is too heavy, the internal organs are also burdened, the heart and other vital organs. The heart, which is responsible for pumping blood throughout the body, has to work twice as hard to maintain circulation. And when it gets too strained, that's when serious problems start. Obesity is one of the main causes of heart disease. Being overweight often causes high blood pressure, unhealthy cholesterol, and diabetes. All of these increase the risk of heart attack or stroke. But it's not just the heart that's affected by obesity. Obesity is also connected to many other diseases such as type 2 diabetes, certain types of cancer, sleep apnea, and osteoarthritis. When the body is heavy, the joints are affected even more, leading to pain and swelling. Aside from this, the body's hormonal balance is also affected, which can increase the risk of breast cancer and colon cancer. It's not only physical health being harmed, mental health is also affected. Many obese individuals experience discrimination, ridicule, and social stigma, and because of this, it leads to depression, anxiety, and a severe lack of self-worth. When your body movements become limited, even simple daily pleasures disappear. This includes the ability to go out, move around, and socialize with others. Despite all the risks, fighting obesity is not easy. It often requires a combination of lifestyle changes, dietary adjustments, regular exercise, and in some cases, medical intervention. For Charity, the road she traveled was long and full of obstacles. She tried to reduce sugar in her diet and gradually started to exercise. But with every step, there was a new challenge. Charity's story is a reminder that the fight against obesity is not just about losing weight. It's about health and giving yourself a longer life. When we understand the risks that come with being overweight, we value self-care even more. And if we act early, we can avoid many chronic diseases that may come in the future. But the question is, how did he end up in this condition? It didn't happen suddenly. This is the result of heavy burdens that slowly accumulated since he was a child. Charity grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in a home far from peaceful. When he was still a child, he already saw how alcohol destroyed his family. His father was an alcoholic, and whenever he came home drunk, Charity and his mother were always the ones who bore the brunt of his anger. Every day, Charity witnessed the shouting, crying, and his father collapsing in the living room. It was like a recurring nightmare he couldn't escape. In the absence of hugs and guidance, Charity turned to the only thing that gave him a bit of comfort: food. At the age of 10, he would secretly go to the fridge and eat anything sweet or salty he could find. Ice cream, chocolate, chips, fries, all of those became his weapon to escape the pain inside the house. As time went on, his relationship with food became even more complicated, and when his teenage years came, it got even worse. By the late 90s, his weight was already having a big impact on his life, not just on his health, but also in his daily interactions with other people. At school and in their neighborhood, he was often ridiculed and laughed at. He couldn't count how many times he was called fat, big, or even worse names. Even though he tried to ignore the hurtful words, his self-confidence was slowly being affected. But instead of giving up, Charity chose to fight in her own way. She stood up in the midst of pain and accepted being different. He went through teenage rebellion not to bring himself down, but to show that he could still choose his own path. His intense battle began here. In the year 2001, a tragedy shook Charity's life. An accident left her disabled for a long time. She could no longer move and was unable to exercise. As she gradually lost movement in her body, her binge eating worsened even more. Her health, which was already fragile, completely deteriorated. For Charity, Obesity is not just a simple medical condition. It symbolized her pain, fear, and prolonged silence. A silent plea for help and acceptance from a world that repeatedly broke her. But no matter how heavy her struggles were, Charity never lost hope. She knew in her heart that the fight wasn't over yet. She still had a chance for change and for healing. And that's where a new chapter of her life began. In the year 2015, at the age of 39, Charity decided to change the course of her destiny. The inspiration? She dreamed of wearing a white wedding gown and marrying him. In her mind, a beautiful and joyful wedding was waiting, a day full of love and a promise of forever. Because of this dream, she caught the attention of the famous show with 100-Pound Life. The production team quickly reached out to her, since Charity's severe condition was already known in their community. Someone might have tipped them off, hoping that Charity could be given a new chance at hope. When she appeared on the show, the whole world was introduced to a woman who could barely move her own body. Her weight had reached 178 pounds. Her condition was already very dangerous. Because of this, Dr. Now, an expert in treating severe obesity, immediately took action. Charity was sent to Houston for intensive treatment. Under the strict supervision of Dr. Now and the nurses and doctors, Charity began her long and difficult. She was put on an intense weight loss program, only 1,000 to 1,200 calories per day, no desserts, and no favorite takeout food. Everything was measured, weighed, and strictly monitored. Every day, Charity faced the challenge. She knew that her dream of marrying Tony depended on this, and every step forward was the result of her determination and the love of the people around her. After 3 months of following the program, she stepped on the scale again. And there, they found out that she had lost over 100 pounds. It was proof that she could do what she once thought was impossible. Dr. Now was impressed with her results, but it was also clear that the road ahead was still long. As her body gradually healed, she was allowed to return to her hometown to continue her treatment. But upon her return, a new challenge awaited her. Her son, Charlie, struggled to accept his mother's long absence. His answer to sadness was food. Meanwhile, Charity was preparing for her next step, the gastric bypass surgery. The operation succeeded, and when she returned, she brought a new beginning. And upon her return, a new beginning, a dream. Through therapy, she understood more deeply the root of her binge eating. It wasn't just hunger in the stomach. It turns out it was hunger for love, understanding, and peace of mind. Even after the gastric bypass surgery, the temptation still doesn't go away. Sometimes the binge eating still comes back, putting her progress at risk, especially now that she's planning to undergo skin removal surgery. Dr. Now says she must confront her greatest setback. That's why Dr. Now recommended therapy for Charity, and she accepted. She knows that the real enemy isn't just on the plate, it's also inside her mind. With the help of her therapist, she started to examine herself. One by one, memories surfaced, wounds from childhood, feelings of inadequacy, and a lack of self-confidence. With the help of counseling, she learned to replace binge eating with healthier coping strategies like mindfulness and stress management. As she revisited her complicated past, she gradually realized that her attacks on food were often the result of sadness, fear, and loneliness. Before, food was her escape, but now she has learned to face her emotions with courage. She doesn't run away from them anymore. She accepts them. Every week she sees the changes. She now chooses healthier food, something that nourishes not just her body, but also her heart. With Tony's help, She even took cooking classes to learn how to prepare healthier dishes. Mealtime, which used to be filled with guilt, has now become a chance for joy and connection. Therapy is not just for food, but also for the mind. With the help of the therapist, she gradually replaces her negative self-perceptions with compassion, understanding, and acceptance. But as Charity walks the path of healing, a different story begins to unfold on the other side of America. In a small town, there is a woman named Sarah Jacobs. She was inspired by Charity's story and developed a unique goal to gain a lot of weight so she could also be on television. For several years, she intentionally ate more, hoping to become the next feature on a show, but her plan ended in tragedy. Instead of fame, her body eventually gave out. And this is where the sad story began of the woman considered the heaviest in the world. As Sarah Jacobs' condition continued to worsen, her weight also increased rapidly. She could no longer get up. She was confined to her bed, relying on medical equipment and continuous care. Instead of achieving the fame and exposure she desired, she ended up in complete isolation and with severe health complications. The former dream turned into a nightmare. She could no longer do even the most basic tasks without the help of others. In the end, she faced a reality even harsher than she had imagined. And at this point, we have to wonder, do stories about extreme obesity in the media help, or do they cause harm? As Charity walked her own path, she learned something new. Through therapy, she began to see herself not as a victim, but as a strong woman, a person who can overcome any obstacle. She learned to celebrate small victories. She learned to forgive herself for past mistakes, and little by little, she became braver. She learned to take care of herself, not just her body, but also her feelings and mind, until the most awaited moment finally arrived. After more than a year of therapy and tremendous effort, Charity once again faced the scale, nervous, holding her breath. And when the number appeared, she couldn't believe it. She had dropped below 100 pounds. That means she can now undergo skin removal surgery. She cried with joy. A new chapter, new hope. He knows he wouldn't have reached this point if not for the therapy that taught him to know and embrace himself. All the wounds, fears, and hopes. But along with success, a painful tragedy awaited him. While lying in the hospital bed, busy preparing for a major operation, bad news arrived. His mother had passed away. Brain cancer, no warning, no final goodbye. The mother who was his pillar and strength was suddenly gone, as if Charity's world collapsed. Overwhelmed by grief, his heart broke. The weight of the future became even heavier with the loss of the person most important to him. There came a time when he just wanted to go back to his old habit of eating, binge eating. Once again, he turned to food to escape the pain. But instead of giving up, he chose to fight. Holding on to the memory of his mother, Charity faced the operation. Even though he was filled with fear, he didn't let sadness crush him. And finally, the skin removal surgery was done. He came out successful. He had lost a lot of weight. His body felt lighter. His spirit was stronger. The operations continued. The excess skin was removed piece by piece, each incision marking a long struggle and a sign of rising up. Every stitch was a reminder of his courage. But everything didn't end there. He had complications after the skin surgery. He was diagnosed with cellulitis, an infection requiring hospital treatment. Dr. Now quickly came to the rescue again. Charity was operated on, and 38 pounds of excess skin were removed from her abdomen. She stayed in the hospital for 2 months, and after that, the infection came back. She almost went into septic shock. Another surgery was needed to save her. Despite all of this, she did not give up. She returned home with wounds on her body and the pain of grief. But her determination never faded. But another blow awaited her, another wound, but not on her body. While she was trying to recover from her mother's death, her lover left her. And what hurt even more was that he left her for her own sister. A painful betrayal that once again tested her resilience. Of all the hardships Charity went through, the most painful was the betrayal of the people closest to her. In the year 19, Charity, Tony, and Charlie returned to Iowa to meet with their family again. The purpose was to pay tribute to her late mother through a memorial service. But instead of a peaceful reunion, that's where the secret relationship between Tony and Charity's sibling began. This betrayal deeply wounded Charity. She completely fell into depression. To escape the pain, she went back to the vices she'd long fought: food, alcohol, and cigarettes. But even though she was brought down by her emotions, Charity once again proved her resilience. Despite the pain and shame, she still managed to lose 29 pounds. It wasn't easy, especially when she found out that her sister was pregnant and Tony was the father. But instead of giving up, she worked even harder. She recorded a weight loss of 41 pounds, so her weight dropped to 335 pounds. Because of this, Dr. Now approved another skin removal surgery. In the same year, Charity underwent her third operation. 15 pounds of excess skin were removed from her leg. These are important steps toward a healthier body. But during her recovery, a dangerous incident occurred. Charity was struggling with body pain and asked for additional pain medication. Dr. Now refused, so she secretly brought her own painkillers. That's when she fell. Charity overdosed. She lost consciousness. Her breathing stopped. Fortunately, Dr. Now acted quickly. Her life was saved. The effect of this incident was that the medical team's trust in her was broken. But instead of hiding what happened, Charity faced her mistake. She turned it into a lesson. And most of all, it served as a wake-up call for her that it's not just the body that needs healing, but also the heart and mind. After the show, she continued to work hard. With her determination, she lost an additional 113 pounds. But her life was tested again when she was diagnosed with kidney cancer in December, and it felt like her mother's nightmare had returned. But just like before, she didn't give up. In March, she underwent surgery to remove the diseased kidney. The surgery was successful, and she was saved from the possible spread of cancer. Despite everything, she continued to update on social media. She shared her progress, gratitude, and faith. Charlie didn't fall behind either. At 16, Charlie's weight reached 390 pounds, almost the same as his mother's weight before. But at the end of the episode, he lost 14 pounds. That's where his own story of change began. He decided to undergo therapy with his mother to change their caregiver-patient relationship and restore it to a true mother and son bond. He later became Dr. Tornau's patient. He underwent gastric suction surgery, and from 185 pounds, his weight dropped to 154 pounds. His transformation became a symbol of hope for many. The mother and son grew closer. Charity became more energetic, active on TikTok, playing with her grandchild, and seemed like a different person compared to how she used to be, depressed and unable to move. In January 22, Charlie got married and had a child. And in March 2023, they happily announced that they would have another addition to their family. Charlie was pregnant again. But no matter how much success, something has to be sacrificed. In the 2020 episode of Where Are They Now?, it was revealed that the mother and child had to separate for a while. Charlie left and returned to Iowa to focus on her own health. While they were apart, they chose to fix their relationship and put their own lives in order. During that time, Charlie was able to lose 90 pounds, while Charity had a relapse and started drinking again. But fate brought mother and daughter together again in Iowa, and when they met again, they were stronger than before. Charity joined Dr. Now's program again, and she once again took her goal to heart. At the end of the episode, Her efforts paid off once again. Her weight dropped to less than 300 pounds. Charlie continues to take care of his body. He has successfully maintained his new weight. And Charity is now a lively grandmother, happy, complete, and full of life. The person who once struggled to move is now joyful, energetic, and inspired, showing that perseverance, support, and hope make anything possible.